Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakallah khair to all the sisters who have joined us today. Alhamdulillah, on the 21st of Ramadan. Subhanallah, we are in the final stretches of Ramadan. May Allah bless these days for us. So before I hand you over to Farah, who will be hosting our sessions, I just want to begin with the opening dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All praise is to Allah. We seek His aid and His assistance and ask His forgiveness, and we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our own selves and from the evil of our actions. Whomever Allah guides, no one will be able to mislead him. Whomever He leads astray, nobody can guide him. I testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, alone without partner, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his slave and messenger. Amma ba'd. Over to you, Farah.
Jazakallah khairan, Amina. So, assalamu alaikum, ladies. Once again, Jazakallah khairan for joining us today. And yeah, 21 days, subhanAllah, Ramadan. So today, the two names, I chose two because they were well, I wanted to choose one, but these two came up when I was thinking about which names I would like to talk about today. And actually, I say I chose them, but I think, as with most things in my life, they chose me actually, because today has been a real day of me contemplating time. So before I tell you the names, I'd like to ask you, ladies, if you could pop in the chat box, when I say the word time, what comes up? What little ditties can you think about time? What metaphors, what phrases do you think of when I say time? And the one, I'll start you off. The one that came up for me was lost time. Again.
Okay. You need to change your top.
So, present moment, Sister Lavna's saying. So, yep, time flies. Yep, definitely, Romana. Absolutely. Time is like ice. Ooh, I've never heard of that one, but yeah, I love that. Time waits for no man. Yeah. Wasted time. I hope today's not been a waste of time for you, Arifa, inshallah. Well, I hope this is not a waste of time for you anyway. Time is precious. Yeah. Time is of essence. Yeah. So we've got that time is quite a big deal, really, isn't it? It can mean a lot to you. When time is money. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Time is precious. Yeah. So I've got written on my little list here that time flies, like we've said. Killing time. Time is short, Sister Farah has said, and time waits for no man. And it's funny because I have time flies, and I've also got when time drags on, or waste of time as well, Nick. So yeah. So the opposite of waste of time, is it productivity, a gain of time, what you can do that's not a waste of time. So that's interesting, isn't it? When we talk about time, it's a lot of things do come up, and some of them are on all time is short. Yeah, absolutely. So I did this exercise with my children, and I asked them about time, and we were just generally chatting about what came up for them, and it came up from a conversation that I had with my littlest son, and he didn't want to do some I think it was a video he was asked to watch at school, and he said, oh, I don't want to do that, it takes forever. And it was only a 2-minute video, but in his mind that 2 minutes was forever, because even though in reality 2 minutes is only a short amount of time, but it was dragging on because he would rather be doing something else with those 2 minutes. Even if they are 2 minutes, he'd rather be doing something else. And so when we were talking, I just thought to myself, when we're young, when we're little, we just want to be older, don't we? And we want to be bigger, because bigger girls or bigger people or older, you know, when you're a little, like, again, I'll refer to my 6-year-old son, my littlest boy. He desperately wants to be 12. He desperately wants to be 12, because my eldest son is 12. And for him, for Elias, being 12 means more Xbox time, which at the moment is his, you know, go-to thing. That's all he wants to do, really. So 12-year-olds have more time on the Xbox than 6-year-olds. So he really wants to speed that 6 years up. And when we're young and we want to be older, it's because what we think will happen when we're older is either so much cooler or so much better than what's going on for us right now. And I'd like to bring in the names that I'm going to be talking about today, which are Al-Muqaddim, which means the expediter, and Al-Mu'akhir, which means the delayer. So to expedite something means to move it forward or to make it happen quicker, to expedite it, to rush it, to make it, yeah, to bring it forward. And when we delay something, we're holding it back, or, well, really trying to stop it from happening. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of the timing of everything, he has the power to advance things, and he has the power to push or postpone things. But whatever his power, whatever his power allows it, whatever is encompassed in that power, there is a harmony, there is a wisdom, there's a reason for it. And when we're told, I'm just trying to think where it is now. I can't find it now. Yes. So in Sister Amina's, no, not Sister Amina's. No, sorry. I'll come back to that. I can't find the quote that I wanted to make, but it was pretty much, there is a time for everything. And we are told in the Quran that there is a time decreed for everything. So there is this wisdom in the way things play out. So when I was trying to understand how these two names really not fit in, but how they are applied to my life, it really got me to thinking about the way that I view time, and the way that sometimes I want things to speed up, and, you know, I'll rush through and just want to get to the end of something or speed it up. And then other times I wanted to delay, and bedtime came up for me. And again, when I was talking to the kids, like when you're young or when you're little, my 4-year-old, she didn't want to go to bed last night at 8 o'clock because it was still light outside. And she said, "It's not time yet, Mummy," because in her mind, it was still daylight, so it wasn't time for sleeping. And when I send my children to sleep, in the way that they perceive as too early, it's funny because as a kid, I remember not really wanting to go to sleep. You know, I was too busy playing. But as an adult, I live for bedtime. It's all about, when I've got my day done, and I actually welcome and enjoy the prospect of getting all cozy and going to sleep. SubhanAllah. So when we talk about the concept of time, it is very subjective. And also when we look at the concept of when things happen in the time that they are apportioned to. So when we're young, we want to look older, like whether it's, you just want to look a bit older, you want to either, wear a bit of makeup or whatever it is. If you're a girl, and if you're a boy, you just, can't wait to get your first bit of chin fluff, and it means something. It means you're older and wiser or cooler or whatever it is. But when we're older, sometimes it's the reverse. We'd like to delay the signs of time passing. We want to delay those white hairs, or use all the creams in the world to delay the signs of old age, of wrinkles, and looking older. But in effect, we can only change the signs. We can change the appearance, but the amount of time that we've been here is the same. It's neutral. That hasn't changed. And it's almost like we're trying not to defraud the system, if you like, but there is an underlying truth that everything happens in the time that it's supposed to happen. So those wrinkles, those grey hairs, they're there for a reason. And I remember when I I think I noticed my first grey hair, and I think I was only in my late 20s, if not maybe my early 30s perhaps. And my first instinct was, oh, I suppose I should pluck that out, or maybe it's time to get the hair dye out. But I never did, and I never have dyed my hair. And I've got a few more grey hairs now, just looking at myself now, thinking, yep, I can see a couple of them. But even if I was to dye them, what does that actually mean? What am I covering up? And really now, the way that I look at my grey hair is, it's almost like I've given each grey hair a meaning. Either it could be that I've survived a stressful situation, perhaps with my children, or it's all that grey hair, maybe by having grey hair suddenly I'm wise, or suddenly I'm full of wisdom, and the old age brings with it, or older age brings with it, that kind of wisdom. And when we look at this concept of trying to expedite, trying to rush through, and I guess when bringing it down to our ibadah and bringing it down to the way in which we do things, the way in which we worship Allah, we can't go back in time and do stuff. So we can't go back and make up for lost time, if you like. We can't go back and fix everything, and we can't go back in time and worship Allah, nor can we rush forward and worship Him in the future. So now is the only time that we have. But in knowing that we only have now, even in that limited little bit of, I suppose, time, if you like, there are times that we delay things. So, there's been times where I've said, okay, I'll go and pray after I've done X, Y, and Z, or I'll just wait for, I'll wait for the perfect moment. The kids are all quiet, and the house is all tidy, and then I'll be able to go and do my salah, because everything around me will be okay. Or there are times where I've actually rushed through my salah, tried to get it done a little bit quicker so I can get back to doing other things. And in lockdown, what has been the biggest, I guess, revelation, if you like, or the biggest insight, is that although I know that there are only 24 hours in a day, and whether I'm sitting here doing stuff or whether I'm not doing stuff, whether I'm procrastinating or if I'm rushing around like a headless chicken, the concept of me using that time is going to be very different. But essentially, there are still only 24 hours in a day. And when we look at the divine timing, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's created that 24 hours for a reason. There is a reason that there is 24 hours. It is enough time, because if we needed more time, He would have created more time. So it comes down to, what do we prioritize? And when we look at the names Al-Muqaddim and Al-Mu'akhir, to expedite and to delay, what is it that we're trying to rush through? And so I'll ask you a question again. Actually, I'll ask you, have you ladies ever tried to force something to happen? Have you tried to force something to happen when the time wasn't right? And whilst you're thinking about that, and inshallah I'll popping it in the chat, I want to use an example in fruit. So if you've ever had strawberries in winter, they don't taste the same, do they? They don't taste the same as when you're having them in summer, when it's a beautiful sunshiny day and you're eating these strawberries, and it's almost like you can taste the sunshine in them, because that's the time that they're supposed to come out. And if you're buying strawberries in winter, or any fruit, summer fruits, but you're buying them in winter, there's been a kind of fiddling, I guess, with the process, that you've either, those fruits have been rushed through the process of I can't think of the word now, but not growing. A process has been rushed through, and they're not ready. They weren't ready in winter, but a process has been rushed for them to be sold to us in winter. And although they look like a strawberry, and they're all red, and they might be just as red looking and very juicy looking, and even though they might taste very much like strawberries, it's slightly different. It's a slightly different taste that you get. So when we talk about expediting and rushing time and getting really because to expedite means to bring something forward, to move it forward, or to make it happen. Essentially, the amount of rushing and everything that we do, things will only happen, and things will only be of time, sorry, things will only come into fruition or only happen at their appointed time. We can try and rush, or, you know, and I'll give the example of, again, talking about, my children seem to be the focus of today's session, I'm sorry, but before lockdown, trying to get my kids ready for school in the morning and rushing them and them getting their coats on. And for some reason, getting a coat on at 8 o'clock in the morning seems to be a really different process than if you were to get your coat on at any other time, and especially for my youngest child. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, or at 8:30 when we need to leave the house, suddenly getting your coat on at that time, it's almost like it's so difficult. It's almost like she's putting on this coat for the very first time. And I can rush her and say, you know, can you please just hurry up? Can you please just hurry up? And I used to use that word a lot, especially with my kids. Can you please hurry up? And I felt that I was forever rushing around. I was forever trying to rush other people. I was forever trying to make things happen quicker than they should. And all that did was make it go slower. All I did was actually, instead of getting things done quicker, things took twice as long, because I was trying to rush a process that actually has its appointed time. And on the flip side, I would try and delay, like when they were babies, I wished that they would grow up, and I could see what they were going to be like. I could see, I wonder what they'll be like when they're 6 months old, or when they're a year old, or when they're 4 years old. And then they get to 4 years old and you think, I wish I could delay this, because I'd quite like them to go back to when they were little babies, when I could just carry them around and not really have too much to answer for. But when I talk about the two names, I'm drawn to the awe and the awesome insight into Allah's divine decree. He's got this. It's in Surah Yasin, it states in Surah Yasin, I think it's ayah 36, if I'm not mistaken, or I'm not sure, it might be ayah 40 actually. The sun is not permitted to overtake the moon, nor can the night go beyond the day, but each moves easily in its lawful way. And there is this, in that ayah, I'm drawn to the harmony, the harmonious nature of Allah's decree, that things happen not only for a reason, and not only in the time that they're appointed, but they are very bespoke as well. So things happen for you, things happen for me. I might want something, when we're asking for, like when we're rushing through life, we want the good to come quickly, don't we? We pray and we like, if like, you can pray for whatever it is that you want, but usually you want it to happen right there and then. You're not asking for a dua to be something to be given to you, or a dua to be answered 100 years down the line. You want it there and then. You want it to come quickly. But there is a divine harmony, and there is a divine wisdom in the delaying of that. Like Sister Romana says, everyone has their own clock. And that reminds me actually of a dua that Sister Amina, this is the dua that I remember Sister Amina doing in her morning adhkar. And I'm going to try and read it in my very, very, very broken, that's Arabic, let's have a look here. So as part of the morning adhkar, Sister Amina, in a more beautiful voice than this, reads, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyumu bi rahmatika astaghiithu asli li shani kullahu wa la takilni illa nafsi tarfata aynin, which means, O ever living one, O self-sustaining one, by your mercy do I ask for your support in setting all my affairs right. Do not leave me to myself for so much as the blink of an eye. So, Hamza, thank you, Sister Jasna, verse 40, Surah Yasin. So, if we were to try and get things running to the way that we want, to our own clocks, to the way that we want things to hurry, to be expedited, and then other things to be delayed, then we'd be in a right old pickle, wouldn't we? So we give that, or we understand that divine planning. We plan, but Allah is the best of planners. But we sorry, we can try and do we can want to do what we want in a very rushed sense, or we can try and delay loads of things. Like, who here has suffered from procrastination, from, you know, thinking I'll do that later, I'll get to whatever it is, you know. If any of you have thought, yeah, you know, you've been caught in a bit of a funk and you're like, yeah, I'll do it later. Sister Jamila says yes. SubhanAllah, yeah. And we've all been guilty of it. And who here has tried to rush around and looks like the, you know, a cross between the whirling dervish and the Tasmanian devil, and, you know, is like a blur, rushing around doing X, Y, and Z, but actually really not doing much at all. So, yeah, okay. So I can be really, really busy doing absolutely nothing. I can make myself, you know, feel as if I'm, you know, I'm just rushed off my feet. Absolutely, just rushed off my feet, and I do a really good impersonation of someone who is uber busy, but actually, I'm not doing much. I'm doing very little, but exhausting a great deal of effort, really. And it looks really, really busy, but in essence, it's not. But even when I'm procrastinating, and Sister Kafaya says that there's a 12 procrastination, and I guess when we look at that word procrastination, and we think that when you're doing nothing, that you're procrastinating. Well, actually, sometimes in that doing nothing, it's almost as if you're on the tip of doing something, and you can't just quite make the leap or just get up off the sofa. But if you sit in that funk, if you like, of procrastination, I think there are gems there, because sometimes what we think is procrastination, and I'm not trying to, you know, give myself license here to, you know, to sit on the sofa and do absolutely nothing. It's not that at all. But when we know that we all have our own clocks, and that Allah is the divine planner, and that He has, you know, He's got this. Obviously, He's got this, and He knows what's best for us, and He has this whole harmonious and divine wisdom in the planning, and it's us that wants to, you know, we want to speed things up, or we want to delay things. And I'm drawn to actually thinking of a time when we talked about earlier, the metaphors or the little ditties of time. When you're giving someone time, when you're giving them your time, or when you're not even giving them the time of day, that suggests to me some kind of element of control. It's almost like, I have this time, like this is mine, and I can do with it what I want, and that I'm in control of the I guess, of the value and the worth of that time. So by giving someone my time, really, what am I giving them? What am I giving them? And by not giving someone the time of day, what is it that I'm actually taking away from them? And Sister Cooper, I think it's Sister Cooper says that we have salah to punctuate our day. And yes, absolutely. So when we expedite, like, who here has delayed their salah for whatever reasons, you know, like kind of, you know, the adhan's gone, and you're like, okay, I'll just do this quickly, or I've just got a few things to do, and then I'll go and do my salah. Who here has done that? Well, I know I definitely have. But who here has heard the adhan, and dropped everything that they're doing right there in that second and literally run to the salah mat? And if you say yes, alhamdulillah, I'm really, really happy for you, subhanallah. Some of us are saying no. Oh, me especially. Sorry, salah. I don't know, Sister Ayla, if you're delaying it, or if you're speeding towards it, if you're trying to expedite the time that you get to the salah mat, or if you're trying to delay. But again, I guess, you know, the adhan goes, and that's neutral. That is the call to prayer. And in this half an hour that I was speaking, the one thing that I haven't really impressed upon is, what are you going to delay, or what are you going to expedite? You know, during Ramadan, what are you going to prioritize? Because we only have now. Like I said, we can't go back in time and worship Allah, and we can't worship Allah in the future. So now is the only place that we are. Now is all we have. So are we are we so certain that we're going to be around in the next couple of hours even to go and pray that salah? You know, the adhan goes and you're like, yeah, I'll do it in a minute, or I'll just get, I'll just do what I'm doing right now, get that finished, and then I'll go. Or are we now in a time when we look at the names Al-Muqaddim and Al-Muakhir, that it is only Allah that has that wisdom and that power to bring things to us at the time that they're meant? And if he's delaying something for us that is good, there is wisdom in that. Sometimes we're making dua and thinking, oh my goodness, please, when is this dua going to come? When is Allah going to answer this dua? When am I going to get what I want? When am I going to get what I've asked for? And we don't want it to be delayed. We don't want, we want it now. We want it expedited. We want it before now. We want it yesterday. But in that decree, the first of all, whether it's decreed for us in the first place, but then if it is decreed for us, and if it's decreed for us at a time apportioned to us by the divine wisdom of Allah, and there's a delay, we're the only ones that are seeing that delay. We're the only ones that are seeing the time that's lagging on or dragging on before we see the fruition of this dua. But when we understand that delay, there is wisdom in that delay too. But the only thing that we shouldn't delay, and I don't use should, we don't like should or could in Sister Seeking Salam, because there's never really a universal should. Everything is kind of, from your perspective. But what I'd like to leave you with this afternoon is, don't delay what you can do now to later, because we don't know if that later will ever come. And I've been guilty of this in past Ramadans, where I have, so look forward to Ramadan coming, can't wait. But then, was it really Ramadan, or was it, I don't know, was it Eid? Like when I speak to my children about Ramadan, the first thing they said, my little boy, he's on a countdown to Eid. Before Ramadan even began, it wasn't when's Ramadan beginning, it's when's it Eid, mummy? And we're trying to get to the good bit, we're trying to get to the good stuff. But in the delay, I guess, so for him, the 30 days of Ramadan is a delay to the good bit for him. But if we are delaying now, if we're delaying doing now what we think we can be doing later, we're not sure that later is going to come. And if we're rushing, and if we want things to happen now, and they're not supposed to happen for us now, they're supposed to happen later, then again, it's not messing with divine decree, but if we can truly, truly understand that there is that divine wisdom, that there is that huck, that truth, that having patience, that it will come to us, but it will come to us at the time that is appointed for us. But what we can do, the bits that we have control over, if you like, is whether to rush to or to delay. So, my dear sisters, in this, I thank you so much for being here for this whole half hour. And what I would really love to leave you with is, maybe I've not imparted what I really wanted to say, because I've got a whole load of stuff that I haven't said already. But I guess what I really wanted to come about from this session was, don't delay, and have faith that what is written for you, what is meant for you, will come to you at the time that it's meant to, and to not lose hope. And to also, when we're trying to rush things, like, I'll use another gardening analogy, because we love a gardening analogy at Sister Seeking Salam, that in a garden, the harmony of a garden, plants grow at different times. Plants grow, weeds seem to grow a lot quicker, but plants, each of them have their own specific time. Some, they grow, they're like mushrooms, they grow really quickly. And then you've got other things that need a little bit more time to cultivate. But isn't a rose the most beautiful when it is fully bloomed, when it has taken its time, and you can see that process and it looks amazing, subhanallah? But if you were to just, plant a rose bulb and want it to happen there and then, it wouldn't look as beautiful, because it hasn't had that divine time. It hasn't come out at its appointed time. And so what comes out for you? When are your when your rose is going to bloom. I guess, you know, it's in the cultivating, in the nurturing, in the de-weeding, or in the weeding, or in the flowering, or in the watering, and the looking after, you know, what we do, to be like, for me, this is for me to say, be patient with ourselves, because what's to come is beautiful. And what I would say is, hasten to prayer, but also acknowledge that, you know, what is delayed, what's not coming just yet, it will come, inshallah. And when it does, it will be amazing. And have faith in that. So I shall leave you now, or I'll ask Dr. Amina to close this. But I pray that that there's been some benefit of this this little ramble of a talk that I've done. Alhamdulillah. So, Dr. Amina, I'll hand over to you.
MashaAllah, absolutely, such a good reminder. SubhanAllah, in Ramadan, we almost like, oh my God, we're at the end. Oh, quick, you know, what can I do? And we're almost like, yes, we should. And this is where the harmony comes in with both. Yes, we should. If we haven't been, you know, pulling our socks up now, yes, let's pull our socks up now. But we're not losing anything, because actually what was meant to pass us was meant to pass us. And what will come to us is meant to come to us. But it's in the now. What is your intention? Where is your heart? Are you honestly delaying your salah for very valid reasons, right? We need to be true to ourselves, sisters. Really, really raw, really honest with ourselves. SubhanAllah. I think Dawood raised her hand, and then we're going to close, inshallah. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Sorry, just reminded me of the story, subhanAllah. One of our teachers from Egypt told us about, there's a sister, and she used to be learning Quran, and there's this ayah in her head that she just learned it, I think, and it was about when, in the story of, I think it's in Surah Taha. I'm sorry, I don't know what verse it is, but it's when he said that Allah have come running to you so that you be pleased with me. So she took this ayah literally, in the sense like, okay, that means, yeah, I have to go and pray. As soon as the adhan goes, I'll go and pray. And thing is, now, this is what she used to do this all the time. She'd be ready. One day she was cooking, and I don't know if anyone knows that this dish is an Egyptian one. It's called mashu, and it takes a long time to make. There's like these wine leaves, and you have to boil rice and stuff and put them inside them. It's like a long process, basically. So she's finished wrapping them up, and then she had like I think a couple left to do, and the adhan came in. And her husband had rang her before to make sure the food's ready. So she said, okay. But the adhan came in. She thought, okay. She left those last few and went to pray. She was on the prayer mat, and she actually, she goes down to the sujood, and she doesn't get up. SubhanAllah, she doesn't get up. Her husband comes in, and he looks into the kitchen, and he sees, he's like, very angry. Well, there's no food's not ready, and the pan's there, and why couldn't she just put the last few in and then go and pray? Because she thought he saw her in sujood, but he didn't realize anything yet. So he goes and that's what he thought to himself. He said, why didn't she put the last few in, and then she could have put it on the stove and it would be cooked, and while she's praying. But subhanAllah, it was written for her to die at that time and in her sujood. And this story always gets me moving, subhanAllah. Then when he saw that she's died, he thought to himself, look, if she carried on and doing that cooking, she would have probably died while she was cooking, subhanAllah. But look how Allah honored her, how she took that ayah to her heart and used it, and she died while she was in her sujood. Allahu Akbar. So it's just, remembered that, so I thought I'd share that with you though.
Subhanallah.
Your reminder.
Subhanallah.
It's a
Jazakallah
reminder
khair.
from me myself today, subhanAllah. That came from me as a big reminder today, subhanAllah. Jazakallah khairan.
Yaki, thank you for sharing that with us. And that is a really beautiful reminder about how, you know, we think that, you know, if we don't get what we're doing done right now, that there's going to be some, I don't know, catastrophic event, like if we don't, you know, finish cooking, you know, or if we don't finish doing whatever it is that we're doing. And it's the assumption that we have all this time, the assumption that we're going to be able to do. I mean, inshallah, you know, if we intend it, and yes, we're told that we are rewarded for our intention. But what if our intention is, I'm just, you know, let me finish this, because ultimately what we're doing in that moment is prioritizing something over something that should have the highest priority. So
Yeah. And I think this story also, you know, at the end of the day, her appointed time was already set. But what she loved, Allah knew what she loved, and therefore made her ending in the most noble way. Subhanallah. And so it comes back to, like, we have to be really honest with ourselves. Really, really honest. And that honesty might actually sometimes hurt us. But if it is a wake-up call for us, then we need to really ask Allah to rectify our heart. You know, Ya muqallibul qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Ya Allah, just turn my heart to you. Because if I am delaying and I'm making all these excuses, and they seem very valid in my mind, what's truly in my heart? Subhanallah. And also on the flip side, if all I want to do is go and pray, but for whatever reason I'm being delayed, I'm being held back, you know, maybe I've got a very difficult family or lots of pressures upon me, like, and it's not feasible for me to go to my salah straight away. But Allah knows what's in our heart. My heart is yearning to be with Allah, and Allah knows. Because just like the name that you reflected on, Allah is Al-Qareeb. He is closer than our jugular vein. He knows every beat of our heart, every pumping of our blood, and every single intention, every yearning of our heart. So either way, sisters, Allah knows. But really and truly, we have to be honest with ourselves. Subhanallah. So Jazakallah khairan. On that note, I'll end it, my beautiful sisters. Have a blessed day. And inshallah, we will open up the chat where you can share your reflections. I think there's so many reflections in this session, subhanallah. We would really love to hear your reflections, your insights, your personal stories maybe. But for now, Assalamu alaikum. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.